this is why I teach what I practice in this way. So it has to do with engaging the creative mind within the child. Okay, you're angry. What does that look like? Right? Is it a monster? Is it an insect? What does it look like? And so getting them to be like, oh, it's my angry monster's back. It's like, okay, so we can talk with your angry monster. Can I talk with your angry monster? And then it's like, I'm angry because, and then they spell it out.
Yeah.
So it's getting creative, or having them draw, paint, color, express in some way. So we can engage the imagination, such as the imaginary friend or the angry monster,
Mm-hmm.
or we can talk with kids the internal Hulk, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to make it much more workable with kids, their internal Hulk, and say, okay, Hulk learned how to master those things in the end, right?
Uh-huh. I like how you said, did you intentionally say it with that voice? Because that sounded really funny. When you said, Hulk hungry.
And it really is that way. When we're in that one track mind, there is nothing else in the way but smash, smash, smash,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so in some cases, hey, you need 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes on the clock. Get it out. You can punch that pillow as much as you want. You can throw. You can do whatever you need. You got 5 minutes. Oh, 2 minutes. 2 minutes to go. 2 minutes to go.
Yep.
Get it out. So kids have this high amount of energy, and they need to get it out in some way. So give them license. Give them permit to do it. Say, hey, you got you've got a time on the clock. You get this amount of time to do it. Scream as loud as you want.
Yes.
Get it out.
Happy Friday, youth developer. Patty Zito, your nutritional therapy consultant and lifestyle coach at your service. It is Interview with Action Taker, and I have my friend Jamie Suss, who is, of course, an Enlifted coach, and that makes him super awesome. He is also bilingual, so you might hear some words en español. And we're going to talk about making mindfulness fun. Stay tuned. Jamie, welcome to the Youth Developer, my friend.
Patty, thank you for hosting me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I really enjoy the opportunity to share a lot of what we do, and to share it in a new way. Um,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Where are you? With this beautiful blue sky behind you.
I'm in my hometown, my home state of Colorado, known for 300 days of sunshine a year. And I wanted to share some of this goodness with you all.
Thank you. I'm loving the blue, the tree, the benches behind you. Which city are you in Colorado?
So I'm in Denver. Right now, I'm actually in Central Park in Denver.
Ah, oh, cool. Denver has a Central Park like New York City. Okay.
New York City's is way bigger. There's more going on there. This is the centralized Central Park here in Denver. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. There's the zoo. There's the Natural History Museum. There's a big lake. There's a lot of things going on here as well.
Yeah. So I've been to Colorado Springs, Boulder, and Denver. And in Denver, I went for a conference. So I didn't do much exploring in Denver. I did eat a lot of food, and I found out, correct me if I'm wrong, that the coffee Pete's came from Denver. Is that true?
Yeah, there's a couple different coffee brands around here, and there's a lot of craft things. So whether it's coffee, now it's become chai,
Mhm.
as well as beers. So those are the big known things. So Pete's Coffee comes from here. If you've seen another one
Yes.
called Dazbog, Dazbog,
No,
very
no, I love to try it.
Colorado company as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Look at you. That's your hometown. And I remember so clear because I remember walking from the conference and looking for a Starbucks. And so this one was open. So I went in and he was like, well, I'm glad you didn't go to Starbucks. Negation of knowledge. And that you're here. He told me, he was very proud of what he was doing. So yeah, awesome town. Awesome town for
Yeah,
sure.
there's definitely a lot of good people doing good things here, and good things
Yeah.
coming from it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy that we connected. You're able to come and share this space in my community, the youth development, because we believe that the best form of any youth development is by us, the adults, living life to the full, right? Like children seeing us living that life that we want and role modeling that. Goes back to putting the mask securely tied on us first, and then our children, our teens, our spouse, everything else. So I love the topic that we're gonna, be sharing. Make mindfulness fun. Is that how you had
Yeah,
it?
make mindfulness fun, right? The practice
Yes.
of mindfulness, how to engage with it, how to
Yeah.
make it interactive and interesting, so that parents and kids both want to get involved and see the benefit of it.
Yeah. So how did you get into this work, either as an Enlifted coach, or I mean, tell me more. I know the first time I met you, you were in Ecuador, and you got stuck there because of the pandemic. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is. I went down there to do some studying and work regarding my therapy practice. So coaching
Mm.
and hypnotherapy is what I do. And I went there to take a course, and as soon as the course finished, the country went into lockdown. So I originally planned on
In the
going for
world.
6 weeks, and I ended up staying for a year.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And so I'm sure you picked up your Espanol.
It kicked back in. I have been traveling off and on for the past, we'll say, 12 years now,
Mm.
to South America. I have lived and taught English. I teach English as a second language. So I taught in Peru for 2 years. I taught in Colombia
Woo!
for 2 years. And then I've also been a freelance teacher in Guatemala, Mexico, and Ecuador. So I've bounced around and got my feet wet in a couple different places.
Yeah. How was your experience in my beautiful country, Peru?
I love Peru. It was where I first started, and but there's something about it. You feel the heartbeat in the streets. There's
Mm.
something about it. So I was living in southern Peru in a town called Arequipa, which is the second biggest city in Peru,
Yeah. Yes.
and I had the good fortune. That's where I began teaching English, and I taught a wide variety of so either teenage, adult, or teenage to adult college age, and then also above. So
Yeah.
any adults, yeah,
Oh, fun. Fun. I'm glad that your first stop was in Peru and then you moved around in South America, Central America, Guatemala being in Central America.
all of
Yeah.
it, yeah, all of it.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So how'd you get into your journey where you're at now?
Well, seeing how teaching English worked, language is everything, so we can
Mm.
talk about anything. So all the things that I was started to learn regarding personal development, I turned them into lessons and I brought them into the classroom. And then this became even more amplified after I finished my yoga teacher training. So I realized that I knew very little about yoga going through the teacher training, so I wanted to study more.
Yeah.
So then I bought a one-way ticket, went down to Guatemala on my way to Colombia. And in the process, I was a karma yogi in a yoga school in ashram. I traveled around and got to know more of the mind-body connection. And that's where mindfulness really comes in.
Mm.
Um, this is where my journey began regarding all of that. And I've always had a knack with kids.
What age group did you first started when working with children?
It was 10 to 14. It was that
Middle
age,
school.
10 to 14. And yep, middle school. And I think the creativity, like their personalities are coming up. Their creativity of experimentation, the wanting to try for more, and then seeing how that works out. So they're at that ripe age of playing with independence and freedom, and then also how do they carry a responsibility that comes along with it.
Yeah, and they're
So
a lot more open to having mentors and to learn, right? They haven't been discouraged by, by adults, by life in itself. So I love that energy for sure for middle schoolers.
and exactly, and I'm glad you bring that up because that's something that we all go through in life. At some point in life, whether it was another friend in art class who said that drawing is horrible, or our spirit gets shoved down. We get
Mhm.
our creativity, our magicalness in some way gets shoved down.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful to work with kids at that age because it's more about encouragement, right? There
Mm.
are only right answers, so whatever you do is what works best for you.
Yeah.
And so a lot of this work that we do as adults is because we realize what we missed out on as kids.
Yeah.
And we if we can arm our kids and give them these tools to use now, how much better of a world it would be, because here we are as adults working backwards and we're looking to help the next generation so they can work forward.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. Also in middle school, I know for me, I came to the States in 1987 and I was 11 years old. So it was a lot of moving parts for me personally, adjusting to the culture. And I knew English because I took lessons in the YMCA in Peru. So I've been a YMCA kid all my life since I was like 5. However, it's very different when you go to school and then you get made fun of for the accent, and that was hard on me, and so I know I'm very passionate to, being a youth developer, working with children, work, and you said it correctly. This is the time they need the encouragement. All right, who cares? You said it like that. Let's correct that and move forward. And I did have great teachers. So shout out to my middle school teacher. I'm going to give her a shout out today. Miss Aristine. She was from Spain, and she really kept our circle very close. I'm very grateful for that. So thank you, Jamie, for what you're doing, and bringing language. How did that evolve for you from this experience?
It came naturally from teaching English as a second language. I knew my own language better, right? And I was already fluent in one language. I was lucky enough in high school to be a German exchange student, and so I was able to pick up another language. And
Nice.
something that you may already know, being multilingual, is once I learn one language, learning another one becomes easier because I also know how my own language works, how to translate, how to work different expressions, right? Because we may mean the same expression, but we say different things, such as oh, what is it? The straw that broke the camel's back in English literally translates from Spanish to the drop of water that made the glass overflow.
Wait, how do you actually say it in Spanish? What's the
Uh, La gota de agua que reembolsó el vaso.
That's true. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Or, I mean, different expressions. We say burn the candle at both ends.
Mm-hmm.
Or encender la vela por la mitad. Light
Mm-hmm.
the candle from the middle. Right. So it's similar meaning, right? But we say it in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the language naturally came. And then once my level of Spanish became above intermediate, I was much more of a high intermediate to fluent. I saw that it was the same patterns. The same patterns of conflict language in English were the same patterns that I would find in Spanish, except they worked in a different way, right? Different idiosyncrasies, different ways of doing it. Yet it was still the same types of patterns that maintain an internal conflict with the external world.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to teaching this with kids and mindfulness, it had to do with bringing their awareness, their attention to these different things so that they are able to notice,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's something that you and Jimmy both work on when it comes to identifying what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most kids, they lack the vocabulary. They lack the ability to express themselves. So they are angry and they don't know how to express the anger, right? The kid took my toy and I feel, I want my toy back,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know how to express it, right? So they just get angry, or they repeat what they've seen. So if that's someone yelling and shouting, or getting physical, right? That's what they learned of how of we'll call it a coping response. Over
Right.
time, it becomes a mechanism, right?
Sure.
Where we think that that's the way to do it.
Right. Or
This is something
Mhm.
that I personally had to overcome as well, right? Where I'm louder means I'm right.
Well, you spend a lot of time in Peru then.
I mean, and in some ways, the squeaky wheel does get the grease, right?
Mhm.
It is that way of if you don't speak up,
Mhm.
then how is your voice heard?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
need to use our voice, and how can we use our voice effectively with expressing ourselves in a non-confrontational way,
Right.
or maintaining a situation where we know that we want to find solution, we want to find remedy.
Mhm.
And mindfulness does a lot of this simply by bringing up the art of noticing.
Mm.
Noticing is the art.
Mhm.
You notice whatever it is you notice, and without judging, because once we judge something, we make it wrong, right? We externalize it, we separate it from ourselves, we say, oh, that's wrong, or that we judge that. And
Mm-hmm.
what we judge about others is essentially a reflection of what we're judging about ourselves. So let's say someone wears a very colorful outfit. You say, oh my God, how can that person wear that? What I'm judging about myself in this case is, do I allow myself to express in the same way? Or am I judging them because I don't, negation acknowledge, allow myself to do this?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a,
So
oh, go ahead.
yeah, calling these judgments out, having kids name it, right? In order to tame our fears, we got to name them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When were you at any of the paleo effects before 2020?
I was not.
So paleo effects 2019 is when I met Mark England and also Mike Bledsoe. And he had an exercise about fill in the blank. I noticed that when he paired us up. And so the I noticed you wearing a black shirt. I noticed that there's a tree behind you. And so one of the things that he said for coaches is like, how did you receive the I notice? And the answer for me was like, it was great. It was like, it's what they notice. What does that have to do with me? Right. And he's like, yeah, a lot of times as coaches we say, I think you should, instead of I noticed that you're doing this, how can you that. And it really blew my mind. So the second you said the art of noticing, I'm thinking about even my program right now of how to even apply that question, and allowing them to notice first externally what's around them, and then from there start going in, like inwards. So thank you, that's actually.
I'm glad you brought this up. So
Yeah.
there's two things we can do.
Mm-hmm.
First thing is stop shoulding on the situation.
Right.
I should myself in the foot,
Right.
and we're shooting on somebody else, and we think we're giving suggestion, we're really giving an obligation, or I mean, we're giving advice when advice wasn't asked for, right?
Right.
And this is a lesson that took me a long time to learn, is to
Still
give
learning.
advice when asked for advice.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's a waste of time, energy, and sometimes money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the first part is to remove the should part. Now, with our kids, the best thing we can do is engage them with their senses,
Mm.
right? So we engage them first. Tell me 5 things that you can see, right? Open up your eyes. 5 things you can see, whether that's colors, shapes, forms, textures. Name 5 things that you can see,
Mm-hmm.
and then bring them in further into their senses. What are 4 things that you notice with your ears that you can hear? Do you hear
Mm-hmm.
the sounds of the outside world? Do you hear the sounds of birds humming? Do you hear the sounds even of the refrigerator humming? Noticing different things with your ears. And then coming into 3 fragrances or odors or smells.
Mm-hmm.
What 3 things can you sense with your nose? Do you smell fresh baked bread? Do you smell roasting coffee? Do you smell these different things? Or do you smell the person's perfume or cologne next to you? Right? So engaging the senses. So 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can smell. The next thing is engaging with the hands.
Mm.
So what things can they sense or feel with their hands? Do I notice if my hands are cold and clammy? Are they hot and sweaty? Are they dry? What these different responses, because the body is speaking to us. And so
Yeah.
we're bringing their awareness to this. And so we're going all the way in. And now notice your mouth.
Mm.
Is your mouth wet or dry?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a certain taste, or what do you notice? Is there, like there's that one spot in your mouth when you have a cut in your mouth and your
Yeah.
tongue can't stop touching it, right? So bringing your awareness to this. So what we've done is we've gone from the outside and
Yeah.
we've brought them further into them, so they're able to be more aware of the present moment. They're able to engage with it, and then they're also to bring it into their internal focus.
Yes. Yes. I love how you broke down it's like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Definitely gonna put it in here in the notes below so people could follow along. I mean, parents, try it out. I'm gonna try it out with my niece, and I will are you on Instagram?
Yes, I am Conscious Toolbox. You can find me there.
So parents, when you try this out, please tag Jamie and I. Our IG handles are down here. When you try this exercise, we will love to hear this. That's such a great exercise. Thank you, Jamie. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, and then to add on to that, so we're engaging with their senses. We're getting them much more involved. This is also another great way to calm an overly emotionally stimulated situation, right? So our child is overly stimulated or exacerbated in their situation. It's another way to bring them into a state where they can finally take that exhale, that sigh of relief that comes in, because okay, whatever was making me anxious is no longer anxious. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm loved. Bringing them back into that space, and that's why we check in with the mouth last. A wet mouth is a healthy mouth, which is a sign of saying out of the stress response. When we
Wow.
are in a stress response or an upregulated emotional state, there is a tendency for the body to conserve water, i.e., having a dry mouth.
Very cool. This is awesome. That is very neat. I must be in a stressful situation or not have my water.
I would say there's also the water, because we are using a lot of energy here talking. And then also coming back, you and I both being fanatics of this,
Yeah.
breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is much of a practice as anything else. So when I first was telling my family about what I do,
Yeah.
they were like, people already know how to breathe.
Mm-mm.
And I said, yeah, they do. The average person takes about 17,000 breaths a day,
Mm-hmm.
but the majority of people are shallow breathers, which is only 10% of our lung capacity,
Yeah.
right? And shallow breath maintains a closed circuit feedback loop of the mind. So same thoughts reoccur. Deeper thoughts allows for more balanced emotions and clearer thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love it. Thank you for talking about the breathing part. Because yeah, and same in singing. I finished singing with Fiona. Shout out to Fiona, who's also an Enlifted coach. This YouTube channel is full of Enlifted coaches in this playlist of interview with action takers. Yeah, very true. My niece, I'm definitely gonna have my sister watch this video because my niece loves Fiona, and one of the things that she took away, my niece loves performing. She has actually has a performance in June. She was asked, "Do you get nervous?" And she said, "Well, a little bit. However, I like to do deep breathing." So it's really neat to have an 8-year old understanding that she could lean on her own breath, before trying to do anything else. So it's very beautiful for parents, for teachers, for us to start teaching how to breathe. And you're right, people are breathing from here on up instead of low and slow. For sure. Yeah.
Agreed. And there's a quote or an expression where it's not how many breaths you take, it's how often your breath gets taken away, right? So those moments of wow, that we can create more of those wow moments where it's I didn't know I could do that, and then we change it back. It's like, oh, I can do that. Take
Mm-hmm.
out the didn't know, because I'm self-discovering in this case. Oh, I'm discovering something new about myself, that I have more talents than I was first thought. And
Yeah.
it comes back to encouraging versus um, holding people to certain levels of standards of the adults that even the adults have a difficult time maintaining.
Wow, you just said standards of the adults. This is so true. This is so true. I'm a bit sensitive when we say children are the future, and then I also say yes, and you are the now. And your now will influence the children of the future. So standards of the adults, that is very big and very different because children will follow that.
Exactly. They emulate us from the very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So they we picked up I picked up the same habits of my parents, because that's where I learned them, right? It was a lot of we act in a certain way so that I can be known as a good boy or a good girl, because
Right.
if I don't, then I get either punished or ignored,
Yeah.
right? So then we tailor our behavior to certain things, and you were able to see that we all do this to ourselves. I create my own stress. I
Oh,
create my own headaches, right? It's not my head that hurts, it's actually my thoughts,
yeah.
right? So I create these things for myself. I create my own anger, right? And it's very easy, trust me, it's very easy. We all do this, to get caught up in the outside world, to be overly influenced by either the news cycle or family gossip or whatever it may be, we get caught up in the outside,
Yeah.
and we lose track of who we are, where we are. And so, coming back to all of this reflection stuff, this is what mindfulness is really about.
Yeah.
It's really about seeing myself for who I am, what I do, what I think, how I feel,
Yeah.
and realizing that I'm able to do something about it.
Yeah. And I'm going to start using the word that we're talking about today, notice. I notice that I do care about the score. And even as I'm telling you that, in my head it's affirming, okay, you do. So, what can you do? I mean, does it's not making you happy, or it's something I notice and I can change it, or I can continue to do that in a more graceful way. So it was very interesting. I like the word notice.
And it comes back to our filter, as you just mentioned. You edited out, you filtered, and you were only able to focus on one aspect. And so
Yes.
now what you're able to do is, because you've taken the time to notice, you've
Mhm.
changed the response, right? Between stimulus and response is noticing. And that's where we're able to choose,
Mm,
make the choice. Do I continue down the same old path? Maybe easy, gentle downward slope. I know where it goes. Or do I choose to take the other path that may have a slightly upgrade, or may have unknown obstacles that may exist,
yeah.
yet I will be much more fulfilled for doing it.
Yeah.
Right. So that act of noticing is where it all begins. Right.
Mhm.
Notice what you notice.
Notice what you notice. Love it.
And
Yes.
it's a nice way to bring us back into the observer, to be the observer or the witness,
Mm.
seeing ourselves from an outside perspective. This is another Spanish expression that I love, as far as how it translates and what it means. You can't see beyond the tip of your nose.
No.
That's the Spanish expression. How it translates to English. This is a Central American expression.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So you're unable to see beyond the tip of your nose, which means you can't see beyond yourself,
Mm.
which is another way of saying being stuck in our own world, or self-centered, egotistical, however you want to look at that, but wrapped up in our own space and unable to see the outside world, sympathize, empathize.
Mhm.
Um, so looking at ourselves from the witness perspective is placing yourself as an outside observer. Oh, that's what I look like when I get upset. Oh, really? I look funny when I get upset. Or that's what I look like when I'm happy. Oh, I want more of those moments. How can I
Yeah.
create more of those moments?
Uh-huh.
So it gives much more of a full 360 view
Mm.
of
Mhm.
who I am, right? Because it's
Mhm.
more of who I am, and also what the world is to me, and then how I interact in that world.
Yeah. Yeah, how we interact. Yeah, and you said it like also with our respond. Have you read the book Seven Habits of Highly Effective People?
I have many years ago.
Yeah, many years ago, right? So when he talks about the responsibility, like how do we the ability to respond, or the ability to choose our response, is what came to mind when you said that. It's that that it comes after you stop to notice, and as you said, to becoming the observer, because once you're outside, then now you have that power to choose, because you're up here. I love Mark's example when he talks about, like, we have our stories here, and then putting it down on a piece of paper allows us space for us to be able to look at it and to see it for what it is, right? Or to notice what you notice. I love that. It's
Yeah,
gonna be my
and the beauty of that, like what we do as coaches, is it's really hard to see myself from that perspective when I'm in the middle of it, right? And I'm shallow breathing. I'm in my closed circuit feedback loop where the same thought is like a skipping CD,
yeah,
and so I'm unable to leave that. And that's what we do as coaches, is we facilitate that so
yeah,
that we can bring them into a space where they can notice, versus uh, being in a reactive way. So the whole point of noticing, in order to assist in shifting the response, is so we get out of reactionary mode.
exactly.
Quite often we're in reactionary mode, and
Mhm.
even if it's some type of conditioned reaction. Someone says, hello, how are you? Good morning. And you say, good, and you, right? And it's a conditioned, but we're reacting rather than responding, which means I take a moment and then I respond. This is the difference of the head and the heart. The head wants to react. The heart is about response.
I like that. Head is a reaction, response is a heart, correct?
Yeah. And the difference in there is 1 to 2 breaths. Seriously, by taking that moment, that short pause, it allows the person to interrupt the pattern or interrupt the train of thought simply enough to notice the space between the thoughts. They're like, am I overreacting? Okay. Wow. Am I reacting? Take out the over. Am I reacting? Okay. Instead of reacting, how would I respond? How would I like to receive what's going on if I was on the other side?
Right.
And being able to see the situation from more than just who we are, right? Seeing beyond the tip of my nose.
Yeah.
Because it's your story, it's my story, and then it's also what is.
Right.
What others see.
Right. And for you parents out there, as we're taking this information to apply it on us first, and then with our children, I know when Mark was here, Jamie, one of the things that he gave a challenge, which was go on a walk with your child. Go, be a fun parent. And I love how your title is like making mindfulness fun. So can we talk a little bit more about that? How can parents, and we'll do it specifically for parents for this one. How can parents make it more fun for them besides themselves practicing with the children?
I'm glad you asked the question. And this is where I love conscious creativity. This is why I teach what I practice in this way. So it has to do with engaging the creative mind within the child. Okay, you're angry. What does that look like? Right? Is it a monster? Is it an insect? What does it look like? And so getting them to be like, oh, it's my angry monster's back. It's like, okay, so we can talk with your angry monster. Can I talk with your angry monster? And then it's like, I'm angry because, and then they spell it out. Yeah. So it's getting creative, or having them draw, paint, color, express in some way. So we can engage the imagination, such as the imaginary friend or the angry monster, or we can talk with kids the internal Hulk, right? If we're going to make it much more workable with kids, their internal Hulk, and say, okay, Hulk learned how to master those things in the end, right?
I like how you said. Did you intentionally say it with that voice? Because that sounded really funny. Hulk hungry.
and it really is that way. When we're in that one track mind, there is nothing else in the way but smash, 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 right? And so in some cases, hey, you need 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes on the clock. Get it out. You can punch that pillow as much as you want. You can throw. You can do whatever you need. You got 5 minutes. Oh, 2 minutes. 2 minutes to go. 2 minutes to go. Get it out. So kids have this high amount of energy, and they need to get it out in some way. So give them license, give them permit to do it. Say, hey, you've got a time on the clock. You get this amount of time to do it. Scream as loud as you want. Yes. Get it out.
Yeah.
Right now, this can be frightening at first, right? Because sometimes the shriek of a child can be joy, or it can be like, oh my God, what's going on? Get it out. Yeah. Right. So even if it's or this is where laughter yoga also comes in too. Right? Yeah. If you laughing, like bringing in belly laughs, we need more belly laughs in life.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Deep-hearted belly laughs. So laughing it off, and this is a fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Right? When it comes
bring
to
your
that
dad
one.
jokes, dads. Bring it.
Exactly. And who better to show the belly laugh than the dad jokes?
Right? Exactly. This makes me think of when I've been running after school programs and summer camps for over 20 years, and I did do a lot of I will let the kids scream on top of their lungs, and and then I'll do one of those. Stop. Guess what happens when they stop? It was and then I'd be like, one more time, and then. So we'll do it 3 times, but the third time they're like, ooh, I can't wait till tomorrow. And it was literally a few seconds. It was like 10 seconds or maybe top and then bring it down. So this goes to all the summer camp counselors watching this video. You're in my heart. So and you're prepping. We're what tomorrow is May, well, whenever this video comes out, and this is something you could apply with the children as well. So that's really good. I love that you're saying give them the license and the permit. I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
give them the rules to work within, right? So, if you've got a lot of kids in your space, be respectful of each other's space, right? So that they're more aware of that others are there doing the same thing, going through their own internal process. And kids are unaware of these things. Which, in let's be honest, it doesn't matter, and I'm using that intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
They need to know how to go through the process rather than what the actual individual steps are within the process. We as adults, we do that because we're able to, adjust our recipe, right? It's like a good recipe. Sometimes we go by the, say it again.
You said adjust your recipe.
Yeah, adjust your recipe.
I love it. You're full of I'm gonna be typing a lot in this interview, Jamie. I love it.
It's good. Well, and so think of it like a recipe. Some people follow the recipe step by step, exact measurements. Other people a dash of this, a bit of that, a little bit more
Alojo.
salt, right?
That's what Peruvians will say. Alojo.
Yeah.
¿Cómo se dice el arroz? Oh, alojo. Alojo. Give me some rules, please.
Yeah. Do it to how it looks. Yeah, I mean, so I've got some city noise going on. That's okay.
Yeah.
Something that I took from working in restaurants and fine dining for so long was salt it to taste, which means no salt. Let the person put salt on it, right? Because that was the one thing. So I'm living in Peru, and I had a host family, and so we would do exchanges, and I would cook a meal, and that was the joke, is because I would smell the food before I ate it, and they're like, "You think I'm poisoning you?" He's like, "No, I want to take in the flavors. I want to know what it is that I'm preparing my body. I want to eat and enjoy each part of this, right?"
Yeah.
And then when I cooked food and they salted it before even tasting it, I was like, that's the same thing for me, right? It's like you think I'm a bad cook. You have to salt it before you even taste it.
There's my husband and I mocked my brother-in-law. There was one dinner that he grabbed his plate, he went to the kitchen, and he was hiding from my sister. He was adding salt, and my sister goes, "Excuse me, are you not satisfied with my dinner?" So we mock him all the time. We go, "Put the little salt in it." And I'm glad that you brought up to you smelling the food, because digestion starts in the brain. Most people will say it starts in the mouth. The mechanical process starts in the mouth, but digestion starts in the brain. Your brain telling your enzymes and your stomach, get ready. We're gonna get ready to digest and break down our food. And so and this goes to breathing too, because sympathetic, fight and flight, parasympathetic, relax and digest, getting ready. And that's why I tell my clients, number one thing is that, are you sitting while you're eating, right? Because it's not that we can have one foot in sympathetic and another one in parasympathetic. It's like if that
It's
were the
all or
case,
nothing.
it's you can't be a little pregnant. It's you're pregnant or you're not pregnant, right? So it's bringing down and relaxing and calming down. And so yeah, so which I know a lot of people, at least a lot of my clients, will that was the number one recommendation. And it made a huge difference, especially with their digestion issues. So very neat. I love this adjust your recipe. We've been talking about from food to mindfulness, to your stories in Peru, and me throwing my brother-in-law under the bus today. But Jamie, I know that in speaking of recipes is that I would like to send our listeners and those who are watching over to your master class. You are running your master class, you said, the second Sunday of the month. And can you tell us a little bit about what you do in this master class?
Gladly. So the second Sunday of each month for all of 2021, I run a conscious creativity masterclass. Now, this is a live online masterclass where we work through different themes of engaging the mind and then practicing with our tools, right? So this next one coming up is on May 9th. And it's a 2-hour workshop in the way of we're teaching, what I'm teaching in this case is the process of thought transformation. This is the art of noticing, right? The first part is to notice, right? And then as we notice, oh, that's the behavior or that's the thought pattern I want to change or interrupt. How do we interrupt?
Yeah.
Right. And from the interruption, we practice it. So there's a guided meditation that we also do together so that you're able to prepare the mind for the journey that we're going to. We've excited the imagination. We've created some type of expectation because what we expect tends to be realized.
Yep.
And in that case, creating the environment for the person to guide themselves through it, right? Coming back to no one's going to save you. I used to be a whitewater raft guide. And what we talked about there was self-rescue is the best rescue. So we have to learn how to rescue ourselves.
Right, absolutely. And I love that you say the word facilitate, because I'm moving away from teaching and educating to really being a facilitator and a guide. Even when I'm in Department of Education, right? That's my role. It's not teacher, Miss Patty. It's I'm a facilitator. I'm a guide or a coach. I go between those three. So yeah.
I agree. And the word facilitate, we break it down, means to make something easier.
Really?
Let's take the Spanish root, facil, meaning easy. Facilitator, meaning to make something easier, the person who makes it easy. So we make it easy for other people to learn and practice and do these things easy for themselves. That's why I prefer the word facilitator as well, as far as what I do, what we do.
I love it. And how can people get in touch with you? I'm sure there's a registration for this masterclass.
Yeah, there is a registration. You can find it at conscioustoolbox.org. And May 9th, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard for 2 hours. So feel free to join. If you have any questions, please send me an email at hello@conscioustoolbox.org.
I love that it's hello. Yes, that's very welcoming. I love it, Jamie. This is awesome. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for sharing your Friday afternoon, chatting with us about making mindfulness fun. Again, right now, go to the website that's at the bottom of this video, register with Jamie. You have any questions? Well, hello. You can email him with any questions. Put any comments or questions you have for him also here in our YouTube channel as well. Jamie, thank you so much for coming to our community, the youth developer. I appreciate that. Yay! Woo! Awesome.
You rock, Patty. You rock.
Oh, you rock. Thank you.